If you're an old heart like me, you get a chance first. Hello, Allison. You don't. I don't know.
Someone to I just want to know what's considered old. Someone 2 years older than You go to the farmer's market too? This is something set up and then they leave off. It's just truly they need some help. They need some message. Oh, geez. We're connected. Yeah, they're all wonder. It is all so long. In some shops, I've gone over the some of the things I have to go to.
So they listed Chris and a bunch of them.
Did you see the obituaries?
Chris and Randy and Phil.
Oh, we got Paul there.
Do they have anything in the list? I call the church. But you know what I mean. Yeah, they don't have anything there. Everything's just the persons.
Careful, hang on, hang on.
We begin our service this morning that we call Maya, which means terrorist. Terror at this moment. Now that Marilyn's body is exactly where it needs to be, that she has gotten to this space, that she is safely terror for a couple of reasons. The first reason that we tear is because we're sad, we're heartbroken, and we're physical people, and it feels good to hurt something. And so we tear. We tear also, in just a moment, don't tweet out, you're going to wait for 1 second and then I'll do. We also tear because this is a big rip in the fabric of your family and your community. 94 almost years is a long time to have someone with us. And when we lose someone after that amount of time, the world feels really different. And so we tear to recognize that rip too. And finally, especially for you guys, it's a lot of work to get to this moment. First of all, taking care of her as her memory got more similar over so many years, making sure that she was safe and that she was in a place where she could be safe, and making sure that she was taken care of, and then making sure that she arrived here today with all of these details and logistics. And so we change more stats of people who worry and logistically and plan and organize to people who get to know just more. And so we mark it together by ripping this ribbon that our mourners have pinned to their lapels. And so I'm going to ask you in the front row to repeat after me. Adonai Natan.
Adonai Natan.
Adonai Latas.
Adonai Natan.
Yehi Shem.
Lehi Shem.
Adonai Mevorach.
Adonai Mevorach.
God gives and God takes away. Blessed is the name of God. And now you can go ahead and your ribbon should have a little tiny cut in them. Just another quarter of an inch, you don't have to rip it off. And then repeat after me again. Baruch. Dayan. Emet. Judge of truth. So, you can hear me a little bit better now when I'm off this. I'm Rabbi Hyatt, and it's really an honor to be with all of you today. It's both wonderful and also heartbreaking for me when I get to know a family and then I get to see them again. And we were just together, many of us, when we had the hard job a few months ago of burying Craig. And now we have his mom here to put to rest with him so that they can be at peace together. And so today we say goodbye to Marilyn and Scheidler Kadish Bolton. I had to write that one down because it's a lot of names. And I think that probably from what I know about her, every one of those names, every one of the words that we are going to say is an important part of who she was and what she has to teach us. So there are three parts essentially to a Jewish funeral. The first, we prepare ourselves with songs and with poems and readings to make sure that we are ready for the hard work that we're going to do. The second thing that we do is tell their story. We're obligated to look at the life of a loved one that we have lost, God has said. And if you look around here, you'll see on some of these tombstones, on some of these headstones, the date of birth and the date of death are separated just by a dash. It's a tiny little symbol, but it holds the entirety of 90, what was it, 93 years, 9 months, 13 days, or something crazy like that. That's a lot of dates to put in a tiny dash. And yet we don't know what that dash holds until the story is over. And so it's just this week that we have the opportunity to look back so with that, we begin by preparing ourselves for this hard work. There is a poem that I think wraps up 93 point something years. This birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity, from youth to age, and innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back ready to help again, from offense to forgiveness, and from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Whenever I'm here at this particular cemetery, I can't help but want to share the words of one of our psalms. And it says, as do most of our psalms, talks about our relationship with God and the greater world. And this one says, I'll tell you in English first. This is a song for the ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountains, which we can kind of see today from here. From where will my help come? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. You see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. And Adonai is your guardian. Adonai is your protection at your right hand. And by day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm, guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and your coming now and forever. Shir l'ma'alo, esa einai el ha'arim, me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai, otei shamayim ba'aretz, al yitem lamu raglecha, al yanum shomrecha, hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael, Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha yad yaminecha, yomam hashemesh lo yikata v'yareach b'layla. Adonai yishmorcha mikora, yishmor et nafshecha, Adonai yishmor tzitzecha u'ulecha, ve'ata ve'ad odem. And last, one more psalm to share with you, which is Psalm 23. And so many different religions and traditions share this psalm when we mourn, when we grieve. And you probably recognize the words, either you don't recognize the number. We talked about how we walk in the valley of the shadow of death. And one of my teachers taught me that what I had understood that this psalm always to me, that we are praying for the safety and the security of our loved ones in this moment, that they are in the shadow of death. It's actually us. We, when we grieve, walk in the valley of the shadow of death. But we don't fear any evil because we know that we are not alone there. We are with God and so many others who grieve together. But my favorite thing about that, especially on a day that is like 100 degrees, is that you don't ever get a shadow unless you have light. And I think Marilyn had a lot of light to give us and to teach us and to leave us with. And so while we may feel that shadow today, you remember that there can only be a shadow when the light is bright. Please more the David, Adonai, Roi, Lo, Achsar, Vino, Dasha, Yar, Vitani, Maybe no Kogan, Nahavani, Nashi, Yeshove, Yanfani, the Madeleine, Sedek, Laman, Shemo, Ki left the gates on Habe, Lo, Ira, Raki, Atai, Marti, Chief Decha, Mishantaka, Hema, Yena, Kamuni, Tarokana, Jokanegit, Sorai, Ishanta, the Chamakashi, Kosi, Rebaya, After the Kasir, the Kumi, for your man. The shopkeeper they got an eye, God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters and restores my soul. God, you lead me in right paths for the sake of your name, and even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. And so we arrive now at this moment where we call upon Marilyn's children to tell the story of her life, to tell us not just the story, but what that story meant and what pieces of that legacy they are taking with them as we do this hard work here today. And so, Kenny, I'm going to have you come on up here first.
Good afternoon, friends and family. I'm Kenny Kadish, Marilyn's oldest. Who was Marilyn and Scheidler Kadish Bolton? Let me relate my memories of them. One thing I can tell you, she was certainly not the typical Yiddish mom. Had style. She had flair. Mom was a free thinker, independent-minded, a nonconformist. Mom loved poetry. To paraphrase Henry David Thoreau, she marched to a different drummer. I remember Mom. I remember Mom for doing figure eights and ice skating backwards on frozen Washington Parkway. I remember Mom for intimidating her bridge club opponents with her Las Vegas style, very fast card shuffle. I remember Mom for using mason jars to preserve plums she pulled off trees in her yard at 2501 Park. I remember Mom for being one of the first Americans to visit China after Nixon opened it up to travel. I remember Mom for promoting Esperanto, an international language, on many Denver radio stations. I remember Mom for sneaking blue jeans into the Soviet Union to help Jews and refugees. I remember Mom for introducing her kids to classic art. Mom assembled an art scrapbook containing the stories and the works of masters like Picasso, Seurat, Van Gogh, Degas, Monet, Therese-Lautrec, and of course, Marc Chagall. I remember Mom for conducting Camp Grandma. My two sons, Harlan and Joel, would attend Camp Grandma during their summer vacations. During the day at Camp Grandma, there was swimming and tennis lessons. At night, there was Ethiopian finger food or Indian food, followed by a very avant-garde movie or play. In summary, let me recite the last lines of one of Mom's favorite poems by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged into the wood, and I took the road least traveled by, and that made all the difference. Goodbye, Mom. You are no longer here to help us navigate through the trails and travails of life. However, by your example, you continue to provide guidance and you continue to lead the way. Goodbye, Mom. That's not going to let myself up her favorite action. The one that she was grabbing when she died early Tuesday morning. I had to touch it, and I could feel the hole in my heart. We have some pleasure to go. We chose not to tell
life. He's done it at mercy to save her from experiencing a severely broken heart that we never, ever heal. Some of you have felt this. What's this excruciating pain that just never goes away? You go to bed with it and you wake up with it. Greg was 11 months younger than me, and my job was to take care of him. I actually thought about joining him after he died, so I could take care of him. His partner who died, my brother Greg. Greg is so sorry that he has hurt me so badly. I could hear him apologize. I'm so sorry, but I could not remember the pain that I was in. I'll make it up to you, Ronna. Say, well, maybe I miss Greg every single day. A big part of life's joy is not for me. But now Mom and Greg are together. If Mom is mad at me for lying, it was over here. I'm sorry, but I do it again to save you. Mom would make me feel so safe because I planned herself that toes would attack other toes. She always told me that I need flowers for my soul. That was important. One of my greatest memories was seeing Otto, our wonderful stepfather that we just loved to death. As the Otto and Mom's face at the gate of the Palm Springs Airport, they were so truly delighted to see us. We go to their house, and the house was filled with friends and family, all resting on various sofas, laughing and talking. In the morning, my mom would say, "Let's go bumming." And bumming meant shopping. But it was way over my endurance level. At least twice, I was trained and ready to run a marathon within a week or two, but I could not keep up with my mom. She would plead, just one more store. I was exhausted. Mom was an English major in college, and she could spell anything. Hours before her death, you could have asked her a spelling equality word, and she'd spell it for you correctly. She was a wit as a bridge, that Kenny said, but she had to win. If you were winning, we feel a party kick under the table, and if you kept winning, a bridge and Scrabble, and potentially she'd start cheating. After I finished writing an essay or a term paper, I would hand it to my mom for grammatical review. She grabbed the red pen and sat down. And I knew this was going to be painful. She would get to work as her face went into distortions. As she crossed out words that throat, she made scary faces, painful faces, confused faces, faces like she was about to throw up. Finally, it was over, and she would hand me back the paper all covered in red. Just 2 weeks ago, I stood in the ER with Mom. She was sick with some type of bacterial infection. Her blood pressure, her heartbeat, her oxygen was so low that she was dying. And as I sobbed, I asked her, I said, "Mom, do you want to live? Do you want to live? Continue to live?" And she shook her head, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Mom, you've just got to fight harder than you've ever fought in your life." This time, this strong lady could not keep her failing body going. We all tried so hard to save her, but we couldn't save her this time. Mom, please give Craigie all my love and Auntie and Grandma. Godspeed, Mom.
Well, we are heartbroken. And I have some of my mom's wishes, her last wishes for her funeral here. And one of the things that she would always say to me was, the world is your oyster. And I want to say to her today that the world is her oyster. And one of the things that she scribbled on this piece of paper is, "Oh, right of me, not died in bitter pains, but immigrated to another star." And that's a quote by Helen Hunt Jackson. And she always had that positivity and optimism in a poetic way. And what she wanted for this moment was music and poetry. And so I have some poems that she loved that were here that I'm going to recite. The first one is just a one stanza from a very long poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And this is the poem that when I was in high school, every single morning, my mother would come in my room, because I never wanted to get up out of bed. She would come in my room and flip on the light, and she would scream this poem. And so I'm saying it for her right now. Let us now be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. And she would repeat that in a very loud voice many times over, which I thought was cruel and unusual. So that's for you, Mom. And then she had another poem that she wanted, and that it's by Conrad Aiken. And it goes, it's called Music I Heard With You. Music I heard with you was more than music, and bread I broke with you was more than bread. And now that I am without you, all is desolate. All that was once beautiful is dead. Your hands once touched this table and this silver, and I have seen your fingers hold this glass. These things do not remember you, beloved, yet your touch upon them will not pass. For it was in my heart you moved among them, and blessed them with your hands and with your eyes. And in my heart they will remember always. We knew you once, oh beautiful and wise. So I believe that it is my belief that there is a spark of eternity in all of us. And I believe that Marilyn is here with us right now. And I just want to say that my beautiful and glamorous and smart mother, I know that you loved me before I was born. And what I believe that in my heart, what is remembered lives.
Thank you, all three of you, for those incredible and beautiful words and memories. I get to tell you just a little bit about Marilyn's life. She was born in Denver in 1927, and she worked when she was little in her father's dry goods store in Pueblo, but she was never really where she was supposed to be because she used to sneak away and hide so that she could read books. As we know, that was one of her favorite things to do. And that love of language and books is a theme that we keep seeing. She got her BA from the University of Colorado, where she studied literature and poetry. And then she married a journalist and a writer, a sports writer, Harvey Kadish, and they were married for 26 years. Marilyn was a librarian. She taught at Carson Elementary, and then she got her master's of library science at DU. She was the acquisitions librarian at Jefferson County, and then the head librarian at the Villa Italia branch. She met Otto on a cruise, I understand, to India, one that she returned from with hepatitis. but also with auto. So I can say she came out on top. And she traveled a lot. She covered a lot of the globe in her life. Split her time when she was older with auto between Palm Springs and Denver. She had great speed in both of those cities. So many friends, so many people to talk to, so many people to read books with and watch movies with and analyze what she had read and watched. She was a feminist who had progressive values early. She fought for the Equal Rights Amendment in the 70s. And all of that is a biography. But what I heard when I met with her kids is that she played a lot of Scrabble. And that even as her memory started to go, she didn't really forget any of the words. She didn't forget how to play Scrabble. She was excellent at that through the duration of her life. And so here's a couple of lessons that one can learn from Scrabble that perhaps one might also learn from Marilyn. The first is that it's not quite how fancy your words are, it's how you use them on a Scrabble board. One of the things that the kids told me yesterday, the other day when we met, was that she was super interested in art and in fashion and in culture. And yes, all of those artists that Kenny mentioned were people that they knew and art that they recognized. But before she had the means to actually buy and hang art, she would tear the pictures of the art out of magazines. And that was almost just as good. It doesn't matter how fancy the words are. It's what you do with them and what you learn from them. Our second lesson is that in Scrabble, sometimes you have to take a risk. You don't know what the other person has, what tiles they have on their rack. And so you can either play it safe or you can just go for it and put it out there. And when I think about the travel that Marilyn did, how she saw so much of the world in so many kind of dangerous places. The first three places I heard about were China and Russia and India, all at times when it was really not easy to go to China or Russia or India or any of the other places that she went. She was brave. She was courageous. She was adventurous. And she believed in herself. We learned that some things that appear to be worth the least can be worth the most. Sometimes you put a 1 point S title down on the board and you end up with a whole lot of points. And I think that the way I understand Marilyn's feeling about what needed to change in the world, especially things like censorship. Right? She loved those books, and if there was a book that was censored, I understand that the first thing she would do was find it and bring it home and make you guys read it. And so the things that other people didn't necessarily value, things that didn't seem to be what society was interested in, were of the most value to her. We know that most of the time it's the little words that make a difference. And like Rona said, this stayed with me, that she believed in buying flowers because it's good for your soul. She believed in making the time to find people to watch movies with. She believed in playing bridge and rummy cube and Scrabble. And she wanted to be present in the moments that brought her the most joy. It was, yes, the giant trips and the cruises, and it was also the little games and the little moments and conversations with friends. We learned that it's important when you play Scrabble to manage the board. You have to be able to look, step back, look, and see the full thing. You're going to win. You can't just play the titles you have. I don't think Marilyn was a typical mom. Kenny said she didn't do a lot of cooking and didn't do a lot of knitting and cleaning and doing the kinds of things that we sometimes think is the stereotypical mom has. And yet, she taught them an enormous amount. She was able to step back and see the whole picture and think about what she needed to give her children. She taught them how to find the things they needed, how to find information. I think Candy said that she had a line on repeat. I'm a librarian, and I can't give you knowledge, but I can tell you where to find it. The way to manage that support. To teach them how to learn what they needed, not to tell them what they needed to know. You have to learn in Scrabble how to make the best of the titles you are dealt. It sounds like Marilyn had 2 husbands in her life that she loved enormously. 2 husbands that were important parts of her world and the community and the family that they built. She outlived them both. They were really different, but they were both full of love. They both made a big difference in the lives of Marilyn's family. And finally, we learned from Scrabble that you don't wait to act. Even if you think, I've got okay tiles, if I wait another turn, maybe I'll get better letters. And you spend your whole game trading in tiles. And I don't think Marilyn was that kind of person. I don't think she waited around for what was going to come and maybe be better. She fought for things that she wanted and that she believed. She fought for civil rights. She fought for Jewish identity for her kids. She fought for this Esperanto movement. I didn't even know what that was. It's a universal language, apparently, that will bring everybody together. But it means she fought for peace. She was an advocate. That's about taking advantage of what you have in the moment, not waiting to act. We learned that you have to finish strong. Even if the board is full, the game is nearly over and you have already lost. You still love to play the rest of your tiles. Trying to talk to God, Marilyn didn't want to die. In fact, she had really clear wishes. Resuscitate her always, forever, at any cost, until the end. And they did. And what a beautiful legacy. Fight for it. Play the last tile. Give it all you got, all the way until the last minute. And finally, you play because you love the game. And I know that she loved her children, her husbands, her grandsons, her great-grandchildren, her wonderful friends in cities all over the world. She loved poetry and books and words and travel and fashion. She surrounded herself with the things and the objects and the art and the culture and the people that she loved. So she played this week her last time. And we take all of that with us in our hearts. That is a lot of information. It's a lot of story. It's a lot of legacy that we have, that we take with us as we now turn to our hard and sad duty of playing Marilyn. Adonai Natan, Adonai Bapa, Kiki Shem, Adonai Bara, Baruch Atah Adonai Elohim Melech Haolam, Asher Yatzar Echem B'Tito, Ve'im Yitechem B'Din, V'Natah B'Tofechem Chayei Olam, Baruch Atah Adonai Dayan Ha'emet. Atah Gibor Le'olam, Adonai Rav Le'Hoshia. Find the desert Mechaye, Metin, Rachamim, Rabim. Hopefully, the Rosen, Kolim, let your Oshirim. The Kayamanuna told Ishene, Akar. The Islamoka, about the road to be done, Allah. Elef Mimi, Mechaye, Umakia, Yeshua. Baruch Atah Adonai. Yotea, B'Tofein, Elkaye, Ulam. Ha'emet, Shofet Tzedek, Ha'emet, Baruch Dayan, Ha'emet. Yikol Mishpatam, Tzedek, Ha'emet. Nefesh Kol Chai B'Yadecha, Tzedek Mal'ah, V'Nitcha B'Yadecha. Rachem Aflikat San Yadecha, V'Tomar L'Malah, Teref Yadecha. Ha'itzav Rav Ha'aliyah, Asher Einecha B'Kutzot, Ochot Rachai B'nei Adam, V'Tevu Ish Kidracha V'Kitri V'Halalam, V'Hagid Ki Yashar Adonai Tzuri, V'Lo Avlat Habo. Jewish tradition, we have the most beautiful and also hard and painful custom in which we help to bury our loved ones. Literally, we help to fill their graves with earth. It's impossibly painful. it rips at us, just like that fabric that we tore at the beginning of our service today. And yet, we're taught that it is the one thing, or one of the things, that our loved ones can't say thank you for. And so it is an enormous gift for us to help them. And it's a lot like tucking them into bed, and especially for parents who probably spent a fair number of years with 4 kids doing some evening tuck-ins, making sure that all 4 were accounted for and were safe in their beds. We do now that same thing for Marilyn. We make sure that she is at rest, that she is peaceful, that she is covered and tucked in, so that we can say goodbye and know in our hearts that we have done what we needed to. And so I'm going to invite up first her children in just a moment to help to shovel earth into the grave. Here's a couple of the pieces of how this works. The first is that we do just the first shovel throw upside down. We hold the shovel upside down and we shovel with the back of the shovel, which doesn't work very well. It makes it really hard to shovel because this is hard. The second thing that we do is that when we're done, we put the shovel back into the earth so that we don't transfer our grief or the expectations of our grief from one person to the next. Everybody gets to feel in this moment exactly how you want. And the third thing I'll say is that it's customary to maybe do 3 shovelfuls per person. If the shovel doesn't make you feel comfortable, you're also totally welcome to use your hand. You don't have to participate, but you're welcome to. I'm going to call her children first, and then we'll move backwards in our rows. Anyone else would like to participate in this on either side? I ask you to please rise for our memorial prayer. Amale Rachamim first, and then we join together in the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Amale Rachamim, Shotei Bamromi, Amsei Minucha Nekona, Tarchat Pantei Hashtina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim Kezohar, Parakia Masirim, at Nishmad Henechavo Bar Aharon, Shahalcha Leolama, Bal Harachamim Yasireha, Beseter Knafa Leolamim, Bitzror Achayim, et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, Betanilach B'Shalom, Al Mishkava, Ben Omar, Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold Henechava Bat Aharon close to you forever, so that her soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May she find a home with you. May she rest in peace. And together we say, Amen. And we recite finally the words of the mourner's Kaddish, which is our prayer of mourning, our prayer of memory, of remembrance. And yet it says nothing about death. It only talks about the beauty of life and the beauty of all that this world that God has created has to offer us. And I hope, if I have learned anything from Marilyn and her story, that it is to take advantage of that beauty, to find it, to grab it when I can. And I hope that you all join me in that lesson and in that memory as we join together in the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'amad, Ira, Pirite, Be'amut, Malchute, B'chayefon, U'yomefon, U'chaye, B'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, U'bizman, Karib, Bimru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam U'le'amei Amaya. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yita'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei T'Yisha, Ritu, Le'elah, V'yinpol, V'yachata, V'shirata, V'shpachata, V'nechamata, V'amiran, V'alma, V'yimru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, Huya Aseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'yimru, Amen. May the one who makes peace on high make peace for us and for all of Israel. And we say together, Amen. On behalf of the family, I invite you to Rich and Rona's house after our service concludes today. It's 9724 Bayfield Drive, Lone Tree. And I'm going to give this to Kenny so that if anybody needs this address, you can stop and get it. Please conclude with final words of comfort. He shall laugh us high. Go your way, for God has called you. Last Saturday, go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness go before you, and the glory of God precede you. And to all of Marilyn's loved ones and children, great grandchildren, friends and family, they will come in Untitled Chapter of Lake Zion, Yerushalayim. May God comfort you amongst the waters of Zion.
Quick statement, if you're going to join us, I confuse times and drive times.
We'll be there soon.
Oh, Trevor was right.
It'll be about 40 minutes. We'll be leaving here.
I know reasons.
I did. I don't know. We do it alone.
Yeah. It just beats her so much. It's beautiful. You guys do that. Yeah, I know that swimming challenge. I'm so, I never tried it. Yeah. She got me to do that too. So I wanted to try this right the week before COVID. She's
That's something. Yes. Yeah, she does.